Ideas change the world, and AI is accelerating the transformation of humanity's future in profound ways. And it is opening up new frontiers. It is vital to bring forward the best of human intelligence to shape the creation of artificial intelligence. If humanity is going to solve its greatest challenges, we need AI, and we need an open discussion on ethics, transparency, possibilities, technology, challenges, and opportunities. This program brings together the brightest minds from around the world, not just for the future, but these digital pioneers share actionable steps for right now.
Thank you very much. It is indeed an honor and privilege to be with you virtually in the great city of Belgrade and around the world. Thank you to the organizers of Wonderland to make this possible and discuss one of the greatest stories in a lifetime for people, the digital economy and AI, which is creating GDP bigger than any country in the world, almost equivalent of GDP in the United States in years ahead. 17 to 19 trillion is going to be created by artificial intelligence. The biggest revolution that the world has seen, and you heard from Alan about the use cases that they're introducing, that IoT, machine learning and AI is bringing to the world. Digitalization already is an unstoppable tool for rapid scaling and increased profitability before the coronavirus. Within the short economic time, a few decades, the companies with the largest market cap went from broad mix of technology, energy, and retail companies like Microsoft, GE, Cisco, Exxon, Walmart, to all digital. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Facebook. They rule the world in 2020. Coronavirus pandemic shifted this digital imperative to even higher gear. Eloquently stated, in April 2020, I was watching the news. I was sitting at home and watching Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, announced, we have seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in 2 months. Suddenly, most professional workers went online, either out of choice or corporate mandate. Google, Apple, Facebook, and others are now mandated or offering option working from home, WFH, through at least the end of 2021 or longer. Work from home for so many employees will continue for many, many years ahead. And we're seeing substantial stock prices increasing in 2020 that have been realized by firms that are quickly amplified or pivoted to the new digital offerings. So we'll talk about today our society and AI. We'll talk about the dark AI as well. You know, the dystopian future, is it real? What do we do to prevent it? We'll talk about adoption of AI. We'll talk about future of work. What does it mean to everyone which is listening to us around the world, Serbia and across the world? So we start with society. Artificial intelligence assumes a more central role in countless aspects of business and society that has a need for responsible use. Not just any use, but responsible use. Every day, AI is being used to make life-altering decisions. You see it now. Early detection, diagnosis of diseases, identifying strokes, deadly viruses in the age of COVID. However, what happened to our world of mecha technology coming from Silicon Valley? What happened? You know, I'm frustrated as Mark Andreessen was frustrated. Mark Andreessen, a famous venture capitalist, said that failure to prepare and respond competently to coronavirus pandemic is palpable. It's a failure of action. It's specifically widespread inability to build. Why don't we have vaccines and medicine? So even masks and ventilators, he said, ready. We could have had those things, but we choose not to. We choose to focus on efficiencies. We choose to focus on the bottom line. We choose to focus on wrong things. We choose to focus on factories, on automation, on systems. We choose not to build, he said. Silicon Valley and the Big Ten's response has been pathetic. We got to build music, calendar reminders, Netflix to keep us safe, so our kids could sit and watch all day Netflix and virtual games. Is this what it's about? Amazon to avoid physical stores. That's what that's about. No, it isn't. Pandemic has revealed the limitations of high tech in the world in the face of public health crisis. Big tech simply wasn't ready to build for social innovation. And yet, entrepreneurs around the world responded. They responded very harshly, very strongly. They pivoted their work and they said, we are going to tackle society needs. We have companies in the United States, around the world, Israel, Saudi Arabia, everywhere, Japan, said we will beat the tide of this virus and will make the world better, safer, healthier, more social innovation for all of us, all inclusive, not just few of us, all of us. And they said innovation of use cases combined with AI is coming. Let me be very clear. There are several of those use cases which I will now outline. I think they represent the best of social innovation and AI. Aerospace systems produces monitoring social distance and face mask wearing from the air. The system does not use facial mask recognition or save images of individuals. Its goal is to track when people aren't wearing masks or when they have large clusters of people gathering together. Harnessing and analyzing this data will help municipalities better track possible hotspots when COVID-19 spreads as it has. Another great company that everybody should look for, Blue Dot. It has developed outbreak risk software that works to lessen people's exposure to infectious diseases. It was on the forefront of COVID-19 recognition when on New Year's Day, I remember, a full 9 days before the World Health Organization released its first warning, Blue Dot was there. Canadian company alerted its customers about a cluster of unusual pneumonia cases in Wuhan, China. Blue Dot published the first scientific paper on COVID-19, accurately predicting a global spread using in-house models. Did world listen? They should. ADOC has created CT scan capabilities that can detect and help prioritize incidental CAT scan findings associated with COVID-19 in any CAT scan study that contains lung or part of lung disease or cancer. By prioritizing such findings, we could work to better manage negative effects of COVID-19. Early detection and monitoring, remember, is the key, and that's why AI is important. Benevolent AI, company out of Europe, but also United States, used automated language tools to go through interconnected data sets of coronavirus biological processes and scientific research to identify a drug that might possibly treat COVID-19, used now in the office of the White House and across Europe. This data findings from the tools map out connections between particular human genes and biological processes affected by coronavirus or any other virus. A company called Traces using AI to trace coronavirus all over by over 2,000 of different personal physical traits through cameras, from hairstyle to blurring out faces to maintaining anonymous view, eliminating racial bias. Great solution. Apixio, along with improving patient outcomes, leveraging machine learning and AI, it can help to mitigate and spread COVID-19. Apixio creates software to analyze unstructured medical data, such as doctor notes. You go to your doctor and the doctor just scratches something. You have no idea what the doctor is actually writing. Now Apixio comes in and says it's going to break that barrier and break all the risks. Finally, a company in the middle of the United States, center of the United States, Vida, nobody heard of. Vida work in respiratory analysis of the utmost importance. Diagnosing respiratory analysis is key in COVID pandemic and social diseases. It uses medical data, CAT scan test. It is involved with very sophisticated radiology workflows, automatically evaluating lung density that may be indicative of oxygen loss, emphysema, lung abnormalities. So this is what we're seeing. We're seeing very interesting opportunities now in the area of social innovation fighting COVID. Now let's step back in the future of work, because we said we're going to cover future of work. I'll make some statements. The workplace of the 20th century is no more. In my view, this is my view, remnants of remedial labor and tasks completed by hand is vestige of a former era. The future of work lies in digital world. Ladies and gentlemen around the world, government leaders understand that very point. World Economic Forum predicted by 2025 humans will make only 48% of the workforce. The digital workers will account for 52%. McKinsey has sketched this progression along the digital Darwinist curve. Rather than being experimentalist, fast follower to a leader, all the trends now point to the idea that by 2030, the global labor force will be made up of 3.5 billion people. They will be digital workers with disruptive skills, knowledge workers in concept of AI, and 50% of the current S&P 500 companies, according to different studies, will fall off the list. Gone with the wind by 2027. Remember that. The impact of algorithmic economy based on AI machine learning will be transformative for the future of work. So how do we create resilient workers in this new environment? What are the strategies that we're using? Amazon in July announced it plans to spend $700 million to train 100,000 workers in the United States and around the world by 2025, moving them completely to highly skilled digital workers. Amazon has already accepted that reality in automation. IBM, the company that I used to work, was a CTO, pioneer of teleworking, eliminated all of its office work years ago. And then it released an interesting report, read it, challenging the modern myths of remote learning, the evidence of the upside of teleworking. Already before Corona, 2014, they boasted about their innovation of modern business models, with over 40% of their employees working remotely. Before virus, remote work has potential to destroy innovation hotspots, but it also could create more dispersed entrepreneurs around the world. In countries that we're speaking right now, in Serbia, countries like Israel, in Sweden, in Germany, Slovenia, disbursement. Facebook, Google, and Siemens told their employees that they could work from home officially till July 2021. The nature of many jobs have changed. Remote work is becoming normal. They're saying it is shift. It is a shift, Mark. Digital by default, remote first structures, cranking the capacity across the country, causing innovation to take a completely new face. We cannot continue to function, all of us. Please understand that coronavirus will disappear. Magically, it will disappear, right? It will disappear. It's here to stay. And viruses are going to come. They're going to come one after another. And they will adversely impact every single industry in our economy. No, life is not going back to normal. Life will move forward. We're human beings. We went to the moon. We developed the fastest supercomputers. We're not giving up. Human beings never give up. Maybe this disruption was needed for the world to go digital. Maybe we have to accept this world the way it is. Every aspect of my personal work life has been disrupted. I usually work from home now, but my offices are in New York City, and I never thought that telecommuting would be ideal to conduct important aspects of business engagements. I traveled all over the world. I've been to Belgrade. I've been everywhere. I conducted workshops, board meetings, everywhere. I would fly non-stop around the world. I believed and held the line. I believed that FaceTime meetings matter. They matter. Suddenly I feel productive using Zoom as we are now, WebEx or other advanced technologies. People around in New York ditched to use Discord, Zoom, Slack channels, and like. Over the last months, multiple news sources have confirmed that we are now moving from cities to rural areas. We're decentralizing opportunities in hotspots such as San Francisco and New York, as I mentioned earlier. Many individuals would like to dismiss the fact that it's permanent, but it isn't. The jobless are piling up, and the jobless unemployment insurance continues all over in United States and everywhere else, and people are saying, oh, let me get my old jobs, let me do this, let me do that. They're not coming back. Those jobs are not coming back. Mile-wide buckets of new opportunities are coming, new opportunities. Let's be very clear. Nothing will remain the same. Everything will be impacted, and normalcy is not going to be the way we're used to. So let's imagine waking up and coronavirus is here to stay, and immunity is impossible to achieve. We continue to experience high death rates that will extend for several years. And the government authorities may say social distancing. Don't do this. Work life is disrupted. What if you want to go to work and you want to have the social chat, water cooler talk, they call it in the United States, legitimate office work? Now, that will become a luxury for exclusive few. Collaboration has changed. As we know, those who are going to go to office are going to be allowed under protective equipment and safety precautions. Of course, the lucky ones will be there. There will be clear divisions and barriers, but we're going to look for something I call peer-to-peer collaboration, if possible. Will innovation be impacted? Of course it will. Professor Bernd Erlenbusch, who led a major study titled Innovation and Communication Media in Virtual Teams, experimental study by the University of Cologne and Leibniz University in Hanover, said the following, quoting directly, previous research has shown creative performance is significantly lower when there's no face-to-face communications. However, the current lockdown has fostered adoption of new technologies. Video conferences like we are now, mitigating gaps in creative performance. Bottom line takeaway, remote work is coming. It is going to make a new species out of us, out of entrepreneurs. So if you are underemployed, you are unemployed, don't worry. The dire situation means you just have to do better. You have to upskill, you have to reskill. Don't sit there and wait for somebody, the government, to step in, your mother to help you, your family to step up. Not going to happen. You focus on yourself, you reskill yourself, you focus on labor force, you focus on digital sectors. Students are impacted. Students need to go on digital education more online, substituting face-to-face meetings. We can't continue to function, like I said, that it will disappear. Life goes back to normal, I keep repeating. We have to get with this program that digital is the future. Digital is bright and powerful. And due to the global digitalization, ladies and gentlemen, people have, of course, experienced catastrophic repercussions, as I mentioned. Many legacy and brick-and-mortar businesses shut down. But not the ones which had AI, not the ones that the previous speaker alluded that are digital IoT focused, because that's the way we're going to climb out. That's the way unemployment will climb out of this dire situation, through this upskilling and reskilling in digital sectors. The human-centric digital journey. Human-centric, I didn't say machine-centric. Human-centric, powered by humans, by creating more digital AI companies. Digital first. I said in many of my magazine publications across the United States and the world. That's what we need. Humans need to escalate this. We need to elevate humans. We have how many? 90 billion neurons in our brain. Let's use them for higher tasks, benefiting our some communities, our organizations, our careers, our satisfactions. We have to reinvent business. AI has to be the core of that business. We are seeing that AI is now, as I mentioned, in CAT scans, in X-rays, in hospitals. Just had a discussion with a colleague of mine, said we have smart patient beds that really take care and bring this, not only sensing and monitoring, but they make patients happier to make sure that they have a full life experience. So we need R&D in our pharmaceuticals to move the trial and error process from vaccines and everything else that is more precise, more data-driven. That's the new normal. So as I'm closing, I will want to spend a little bit of time on ethics, why ethics is important. I mentioned this in a major conference, an AI summit hosted by Saudi Data and AI Authority just a few days ago. Ethics is the key for make sure that AI scales, because there are going to be consequences and long-term effects of AI systems. There are biases involved. We need to start looking to eliminating bias. Eliminating bias is not just a nice thing to do. It's just not a nice thing to do. It has to be part of our core. We have a CTO, we have a chief digital officer, we have a CEO, we have a CFO. That's the core of companies. We have a president of a country. That's the core. And we need to make sure that elimination of bias becomes the core so we could improve our economic, our strategic competitiveness. We have to make our AI systems more fair. The great work by World Economic Forum, focusing on fairness of AI and digital systems to make our groups more all-inclusive, more productive, more competitive. So everybody wins. When all win, we win. When you win, I win. Enterprises that practice responsible AI have the potential to increase market share and long-term profitability for all. There is a conscious and unconscious bias that we as human beings struggle with. More regulations cannot fix this problem. It's not a regulations problem. We need them. And we have good groups around the world focusing on a lot of policies. OECD, G20, G7, other organizations on a country level. Machine learning algorithms were created by people who have biases. We all do. They're never fully objective. They reflect the worldviews who build them and data they fed. Biases occur the way algorithms are designed. There's no magic there, no black boxes. Machine learning algorithms rely on correlations, then causal relationships. Remember, they rely on correlation rather than causal relationships. And there are some examples with heavy AI bias. COVID-19 is having disproportionate impact on communities of color, lower income Americans due to structural factors where I am rooted in history and long-standing societal biases. Those most at risk of the pandemic are 24 million of the lowest income workers, we found out. Unacceptable. Unable to take exams because of COVID-19, designed and employed an algorithm that based scores partly on historical performance of schools students attended. Wrong. In 2018, Amazon recruited algorithms that were flagged for penalizing applications that contain the word women. Apple's credit card algorithms were so biased against women that the founder Steve Wozniak's wife was given a credit limit 10 times lower than his, despite them sharing all assets on all accounts. Those are examples which are documented. We need to mitigate this bias from our society. We're going to continue to focus on AI adoption strongly, but we have to utilize strong ethical AI design principles. We have to ensure our algorithms are explainable, are auditable, they're transparent. We would not accept human beings making those decisions. Why would we accept machines? We need oversight. We need to establish full life cycle processes. We need to bring trusted and responsible leadership. We need AI that is human-centric with privacy by design and native controls. We need to create social innovation and ethics centers around the world, not just in few major cities. Invest more in diversifying talent pool. Make it all-inclusive, all genders, all races, all religions, all colors. Develop crowdsourcing testing and democratization of AI with massive scale. Validate systems and base decisions on sanitized data, not just any data, sanitized. Every AI system needs to be held accountable, bottom line. And that's why we call it responsible AI. And there are many responsible AI principles. Some of that came from OECD. Read it. Responsible AI practices guide the actions of many countries and companies. But the challenge is always execution, as you know, people that execute in data science and computer science. So what we need to do is the following. We need to have responsible AI, but we need to avoid delegating algorithms that run critical systems. Think of AI systems designed to distribute ventilators and medical equipment to hospitals with objective to maximize survival rates. Disadvantaged populations have higher comorbidities and thus may be less able to receive those supplies. What do we do? How do we deal with that? Do we want to let machines to direct supplies to vulnerable communities? Artificial intelligence is being used to improve supply chains around the world. The biggest example is actually in my country. Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, is a prototyping AI system that can track data on ventilators, PPE, medical supplies, and food. They were anticipating panic buying, ensuring healthcare professionals get what they need, all based on AI. We need to also avoid disproportional impact and singling out specific communities. I already said that, because that could make sure it will reroute additional food and resources to communities that need it. We need to converge. There's a whole talk about human and AI. But we need to make it clear what human and AI is. Humans are leading this effort, but we have to work very closely with machines. We have to be paired for human-based tracking and tracing, and combined with AI, especially for disadvantaged population. AI allows automation and scaling track and trace for most of the populations. We need to ensure that vulnerable are targeted. Finally, for the few moments that I have left, I want to talk to you about something that is on the news all over the world. And this is the world of the dark AI, the dystopian future that a lot of people are painting. It is possible, of course, there are a lot of bad actors around the world, lots of hackers, lots of bad people, stateless and state. And let me just give you a story. This is a story that I created, I published, and I'll just share with you. It may create a panic, but it shouldn't, because we could fight this. Dark AI, remember, is a terminology that encapsulates any evil doing by evildoers who create autonomous systems capable of executing given the right inputs, biased data, unchecked algorithms, whatever the case may be. But imagine, just imagine, you wake up in the morning, panic, sound of alarms blaring in your house or work, screaming you to take immediate shelter. Your smart TV, made in China, Korea, anywhere, displays the words aerial drone raid, all red. You are attempting to rationalize what happens. You go towards your window, disbelieving. They're saying, what is this? You discover decimated cityscape, rogue armies of drone wasps run amok in search of deviants, trying to poison and kill people. Unmanned tanks obliterate anything moving on the streets. Sophisticated digital twin satellites successfully cripple electronic power grid systems with advanced EMP attacks. Cyber criminals taking advantage of the situation, broadcasting deep fake news of deadly viruses causing panic and hysteria. Biohackers take it a step further, threatening to unleash AI manufactured strain of flu unless government provides them a sizable paycheck. Yes, could happen. It could happen if we don't prevent something like this. It shouldn't happen. And more, it is a Hollywood scenario, but it is possible. I think I might have created a little bit of panic in all of you, but it's just to wake us up and say that there are many of those dark scenarios, ranging from economic malfeasance to privacy tampering. There are a small number of tech giants that potentially could monopolize AI economy. Algorithms could manipulate our buying and selling transactions. AI could widen the gap between leaders and laggards. That's why we created Digital Pioneers Network to focus on leaders that will show the way and eliminate this inequality. Micro bits of personal data could help to concoct sophisticated deep fakes. And let me give you some examples. Malevolent AI applications. What are they? What are people talking about malevolent? Smart dust and drones, facial recognition and surveillance, fake news and bots, as well as smart device listening. That's all part of malevolent AI applications. We need to be very careful. Drones and armies of undetectable smart dust, or tiny so-called smart dust, is micro electromechanical systems that could work together to obliterate entire power grids, smart infrastructure systems. We got to be careful. Facial recognition grants autonomous systems the rights to be for millions. Smart home devices take privacy infringement to the next level. Our homes are all IoT. Smart TVs, smartphones, alarms, sensors everywhere, oxygen meters. Be very careful. Domestic criminals, cyber criminals, foreign agents, everybody's coming, trying to do surveillance. We have to be very careful. We have to have methods to combat dark AI. And I'm leaving on a positive note. We're not there yet, but we need to improve our methods. We need to make sure accountability is a means to enforce data standards. We have to follow the G7 and G20 as they outline methods and public trust in AI. OECD already said the AI principles. Emphasis has already been focused on explainable AI. When people talk about AI, I said, oh, I developed AI, and now I'm focusing on cleansing the data. I developed algorithms that are very well known, recursive, reinforcement learning, some sort of a convoluted AI plan. No, it's not enough. We need to have explainable AI, explainable artificial intelligence, XAI, which is built to explain exactly the actions of autonomous systems. And that's why DARPA is launching this whole new process called third wave AI systems to understand the context of the environment in which they operate. We have to address the issue of bias, as I said, heads on, ladies and gentlemen. Data is compiled by humans, not AI. This is why it's important for data to be collected and processed. The combination of fairness constraints, employment of diverse teams to gather initial data are very feasible to combat discrimination by AI. We have to enforce ethical codes and standards. Very important. State of AI ethical codes must be there and they must be executed. Suggestions have to be followed. They're just not suggestions. They got to be required to adopt. So we have a lot of movements and adoptions, but we gotta get away from the so-called ethics washing projects. We got to get into real stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to before I end, I'll say the future is very bright. We will not get into any of those dilemmas if we focus on lifetime learning, we focus on digitalization, we make sure that our populations and our groups are fully aware of the power and positive use cases of AI, as I mentioned, and we move ahead. And we do better. We do better year after year, and we create the best human civilization possible. Thank you very much. All the best from New York.
Thank you, Mark. Have we time? I know you need to go also. Have we time for a quick couple?
Yes, we have a couple of minutes. We have a couple of minutes. Thank you.
5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, Mark?
Yes.
Thank you. Excellent talk. I didn't want to ever interrupt. You touched on some massive topics. I mean, far too many to go into, but ethics, of course, being critical to so many things. Straight into the questions. Do you believe in singularity and how our world can create a global framework for better or more secure AI?
It's not a point whether I believe there is Singularity Institute. I believe that at a point, humans need to lead the way. It's not machines that will lead the way. It's a human-centered society. Society 5.0, Japan outlined it better than anybody else. They said that AI will power many of the technological innovations, but we need to make sure that humans are smart enough to manage the process and work jointly together.
Excellent point. Thank you. And I wondered if there's any more questions coming in. I've got some remarks. Dojan says, thank you. Criminals are first in implementing new technologies. Thank you for spreading awareness. It's not a conspiracy anymore. Personally, I really take a lot of stock from your points, but I loved what you said, very pithy remarks, such as suggestions need to be followed.
It's all about execution. It's all about execution. We can't be sitting there in unbelievable ivory towers, corporate centers, and academia and wait for somebody else to do it. When we come out with policies that come out from OECD and other countries, including my country, we have to have an execution plan and we have to have adoption, which is widespread. Adoption with all the talk. Yes. BCG recently did a study. Adoption is, very low at, 10%. Why? Because the projects are hard. They're risky. We tend to do proof of concepts more than widespread adoptions. We have to get widespread adoption by having the right leadership, culture, getting digital transformation up and running, make sure that we drive our agenda not by policies or hierarchical, but data-driven approaches. Data drives everything, and data has to be based on ethical principles.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. Mark, I really want to thank you on behalf of the whole Wonderland AI Summit team. You've really given us a few extra minutes. I know you're eating into your calendar, your agenda, your busy day ahead. But,
thank you very much, Hubert and the whole team. I wish I was there in person. Hopefully next year we all convene, but it will take some time to sort it out. I thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to the audience around the world and make sure that we cover a topic that could be controversial, but it doesn't have to be, because AI is the future and AI is driving the digital agenda. Thank you so much to you and all your colleagues. Well done. Great job. Take care from New York City.
We'll be in touch over Twitter.
Absolutely. All the best from New York.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.